Prime.
Way back away. So that it does.
Use it whatever boat is.
Prepare to give fire! Give fire!
What's wow! Where was that?
That.
That was very cool.
Look at the bit.
Yeah. Did you like that? Really cool. Oh boy.
We're shooting the big one in a second as well.
Oh, they're going to shoot the big one too, Connor. You want to watch them do the big one?
Hey, watch, they're going to do the big cannon.
They're not ready yet. They'll tell us.
Hey, welcome to the Black Powder Show. We're not going to shoot the big one just yet. Yes, it is. What I have here is a 1760 Brown Bess musket. Used in the Revolutionary War. It's really hard to talk over the music. Anyway. I'll wait for them to clear behind me. Guess we're the only two. Anyway, here's a 1760 Brown Bess musket. Smooth bore, no rifling. It's pretty much a muzzle loader. We have the stock, we have the breast, which is this part of the rifle, the ramrod, and the lock. This is a flint lock. The flint is cocked all the way back, press pull the trigger, the flint strikes the steel, creates the spark, flies open, the sparks fall down in the pan, ignites the charge, and then it shoots. I'll demonstrate as follows. The officer would already have a charge pre-made. Charge, powder, pour directly down the barrel, followed by your wadding. Remove your ramrod. Ran your wadding. Pack it down really good. Now these guys will be nervous in the battlefield. These guys will be shaking because they're being shot at and everything. And sometimes they leave the ramrod in there and they pick up this gun. They're shaking when they fire. They fire this ramrod. Now they lose the ability to load their gun. They always remove this ramrod. Next would be the ball. Take a patch, place the patch over the barrel, place the ball on top of the patch. So you'd ram that down. Now, since this is a 76 caliber, your ball would be 3/4 inch, that's 750 thousandths. So it's 100 thousandths shorter. That's what the patch is for, to take up the space inside the barrel, give the ball a cushion so it doesn't rattle out the barrel when it's fired. So we're not going to be firing projectiles. We will replace the ramrod. The weapon is loaded, ready to go. One last detail. I have a priming pen. This has a lot of fine, really fine powder in it. We put that inside the pan, close the pan, and we're ready to fire. Prime the pan. Close the pan. Now we're ready to fire. Fire in the hole! flint lock. Cap lock, it's pretty simple. They have these little nipples that are drilled into the breech. Caps sit on these nipples, the hammers strike the cap and ignite your charge. This particular weapon was used in an exploration of India. This is called a howdah. You couldn't use these big rifles on the top of that basket with the elephant, walking through the jungles. It's just too big, too unwieldy. So they used this to defend themselves from lions, tigers, bears, or whatever's attacking the elephant. This one's already preloaded, ready to go. Some technological advancements were the cap ignition or percussion ignition, plus a ligatured ramrod. You couldn't lose your ramrod this time.
Nice.
Make sure these are good packed. And this weapon is ready to go. All right, I'll demonstrate as follows. Forgot, I'm almost a pirate. We play dirty.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!
Any questions on these? So is yours.
So it's a little different shooting a cannon than it is shooting the small arms. It takes a lot of the same tools, a few extras. The first set of tools that I have to have is my cannon crew. And the first tool that we're going to use is a prick. It's a non-ferrous metal rod. We use that to clean the vent. We do that to make sure that there's no debris in the vent from the last shot. We use non-ferrous to make sure no sparks go off later when we're loaded. The next tool that we use is called the worm or the screw. It's a double spiral piece of metal, nice and sharp on the ends. We go down the bottom to grab any debris from the previous shot. We do that for two reasons. The first is that debris could eventually build up and block the vent where we couldn't get fire to the charge. The second is that debris could be harboring embers that would go off cause our powder to go off prematurely, and I might lose my hand.
Oh, yeah.
And I like both of them. I mean, we don't all have two, but I do. The next tool that we're going to use is called a sponge. And you see I've got two. One's wet and one's dry. We go in with the wet one to make absolutely sure there are no embers in the bottom. We go in with the dry one so our powder doesn't get wet, so it goes off when we want it to. The next tool that I use is a powder monkey. And they're normally about this tall. They're children. They're actually the only targets on my cannon crew. They're the only ones who ever go in front of the porthole. So they're sharp shooters with long rifles like he had just a moment ago on the gun decks up at the rigging on the other ship. Whenever the cannons go off and they roll back, they start shooting through the portholes hoping to hit a child as they run by, the powder monkeys. That's because every cannon is slightly different. There's a cubby hole with powder for each cannon in the powder magazine. If you take out a powder monkey, you take out a cannon. So the powder monkey runs to the powder magazine. They get a single charge and they place it in their pass box, which is a leather pouch with a flap over the side to make sure sparks don't fly inside. That's so we don't have any accidents on the gun deck. They bring that, they pass that off, they're going to place that in the bore, then we're going to seat it with the ramrod. Now you'll notice my ramrod is marked red and green. If anybody was here, and you two blokes were here, when we unlocked the cannons, first thing I did when I unlocked both those cannons, even though I locked them, is I dropped this in and made sure I saw nothing but green. That's because every time I approach a firearm of any kind, including a cannon, I assume it's loaded until I've checked. So I checked it to make sure it was clear. If I saw red, then there's a problem. So I'm going to slide that down and press it against the bottom, and then I'm going to ram it. And if you watch very closely, when I start ramming, my hand will leave the ramrod and be under the bore when it makes contact. That's because we're shooting actual black powder, and it can go off under concussion. So my hand won't be in front of the bore when this makes impact. So we're going to ram that. Now we've left somebody at the back of the gun the whole time with their thumb over the vent. They finally get to move and use that prick again, and they're going to pierce that charge. He loaded loose powder in his bores. We don't do that. We load a package. So we have to put a hole through that so that we can get the priming quill through. The next thing that we use is the priming quill. So if you can imagine naval combat with two ships moving like this, You've got to hit a moving target from a moving target, so timing is really important. So a priming quill is a goose feather that you've cut the ends off of. It's sticky on the inside. You sprinkle black powder down through that, so now you've got powder on the outside, airspace in the inside, and when I touch it off, it's going to go off instantaneously. And we're going to set that off with a lens stock. On the lens stock, there's a piece of rope. We use cotton, but it's okay to use hemp as well. It's been treated with saltpeter, which does two things. It slows down the burn on the rope so that it doesn't burn up as quickly as a rope would, thus slow match. And it also adds oxygen as the saltpeter itself burns, so that it will keep burning even if it gets a little bit wet. So a little sea spray coming through a porthole won't put my slow match out. The slow match is on the lens stock, which is a very important tool for myself, especially since I'm setting the cannon off today, because the same force and fire that go out the bore come out the vent. If you're watching very closely, a split second before the cannon goes off, you'll see about a 4-foot jet of fire come out the back. If I was to lean over and light it like this, I would only get to fire one cannon and I wouldn't survive that. So this allows me to light that cannon from a distance so that I survive that and get to light another one. Would you like to see us do it again with the big one?
Absolutely.
It's like when the cannon go off.
Clean the vent. Seal the vent. Search the bore. Sponge the bore. Advance the charge. Place the charge. Sleep the charge. Ram. Pierce the charge. Prime. Stop. Prepare to give fire! Give fire! Do we have any questions? Thank you for coming.
How quickly can you do that?
That's a very good question. How quickly can we fire a cannon? So with a well-trained crew, with everybody knowing their position, we can actually get a shot off every 40 seconds, which is faster than is safe. You need to give about 2 minutes between shots, or 3 minutes, depending on the size of the cannon, for it to cool down. If you're in a battle and you're firing more than about 20 or 30 shots, every 40 seconds you will eventually heat that bore up and it will breach and kill the cannon crew.